Welcome back to Lucore Automotive Services. Today, we're working on a little S10 that you all know and love. It's on its way back together. It's looking really good. We're gonna set up the chassis a little bit and see if we can help them go in a straight line from A to B. Chassis setup's pretty much just exactly what it is. It's looking over everything underneath the car, trying to make sure that everything's tight, everything's set up the way it needs to be, everything's square, all the geometry in the front suspension's equal. We don't want any toe out on lift on our front end, and we want our alignment to be exact from side to side. So I'm going to go ahead and get this machine set up. We're going to make some adjustments, see what we can see, give them some ideas for things that they want to make improvements on, and ultimately make the vehicle safer and more effective on the track. If you want to see what I do, stick around, click like, subscribe, leave us a comment below. I'm going to guess later down the line they're going to trim those bolts back, but I raked my shoulder against that right off the rip, so I put some vacuum caps on those bolts so they don't make people bleed getting in and out of the truck. Not really something that needs to be done, but I don't want to bleed anymore, so I'm going to do it. She's got a ton of toe out. That's not great. Caster's almost within a ½ degree, side to side. Let's center our rack. The steering wheel, I believe, is removable. The steering wheel is removable, but it only goes on one way. I believe he said it was out of adjustment for toe in, so I'm probably going to have to trim the outer tie rod ends. This has a rack and pinion in it now, so probably start with that. I'm going to bring my camber in. Let's see what this thing does on lift. We have almost 2 degrees toe out. Grab some tools. Ooh, on lift we toe out 2 degrees. That's excessive. Let's see what we can do to resolve that. I'm going to drop this front coil. Because my ride height, I'm lower on the driver's side than the passenger side, so I'm going to lower my passenger side to equal out my ride height and get my chassis square. But I like those long travel springs. We are bottom there. We are bottom to there. Might be able to take the outer joint in a little bit, which is going to need to happen, and I need to move these shims around a little bit. Let's see, let's move the outers up since we're going to take those off. Maybe another 3/4. Be right back. Do some trimming. I'm going to take a 1/4 inch off of each of the inner tie rod ends, and hopefully that'll get me where I need to be on my toe adjustment. I'm going to move my bump steer all the way up to see how much of a change it gives me. My toe in on lift, and that'll give me an idea if I need to, which way I need to go. So, cut off tools. Let's go get a tool. Love that death wheel. It's reversible. Alright, so I've got my toe. I made an adjustment to my bump steer kit. Let's see what our bump steer kit does. We are towing out 5 degrees. That's awkward. So we need more shims, because the rack is in a less than optimal position. So I'm going to take my bump steer, put all my shims back in and drop them down farther. I'm surprised there's not more shims that came in the kit, but the way this is setting up, I'm still towing out on lift, and I raised my outer tie rod point, and my tow out on lift is worse than it was before. So it makes me think my tie rod end needs to go down farther south of the spindle. So, well, the knuckle. So I'm going to do that and figure that out. Unfortunately, I cut a 1/4 inch off the tie rod end. I'm probably going to need that back now.
Is weld back on?
That's what happens. You make mistakes. It is what it is. We'll see. Let's see how much we have to work with. Live and learn. I thought I had some here, but I don't know where they are. I had bought a whole extra kit. I got to figure out where I stashed them. Defy gravity.
Damn it! Did you see if Billy's got more shims for that thing?
What's that? No, he said he had all the shims from the kit in it.
Oh, in it?
And he had stated, he's like, and I'm still towed out, so we're probably gonna have to cut out of it. So I went ahead and cut it because I'm like, well, we're gonna need to take more out of it because it actually needs more shim. So, and I put one of the shims on the bottom because the head of the bolt is going to interfere with travel on the heim, so it really needs one shim on the bottom no matter what. But it had all 3 on top when I got here, and that's going to be a considerable amount of, I mean, luckily the side-to-side forces aren't much, but if the tires leave the ground and come back down, it's a lot.
Which they will.
Well, it's less if you have them straight. If they're side,
right.
You know, if they're towed in or towed out, it puts a lot more force on this bolt.
Let's be honest, this is Billy. It'll go up in the air.
It'll be in the air. There's no doubt in my mind. I swear I gotta have a bag of those here somewhere. I thought I put them right there, but they are not where I thought I put them. That's the problem with my brain. Oh, is that them? Hey, they're right in plain view.
You mean that bag that's
yeah, that bag that's right in plain view, and a bucket under it's got a bunch of them in it too. Hey, look at that. Hey, ask and you shall receive.
Need a fresh pair of eyes.
Looking in the wrong places is what I'm doing. Awesome, problem solved.
There you go. Happy I could help.
So I'm going to stick some more shims in this and see what happens. We'll stick a big one in there and see where it goes. That way I don't have to run through the nylock 27 times.
Right. Destroy the nylocking. That's better. Well, you're down to 0.35 toe.
Well, the problem is it the same through the range though? That's the question. I lost my nut again.
It's right there.
Wandering off on its path.
I'll wander away if I'm not distracting you.
Uh-huh.
At least I found your thing.
Hey, thanks for helping me find my shims. I swear they're right there. Alright, let's see what it does now. So I'm going to reset my toe and then we'll see what it does on lift. It's probably going to toe in now. Okay, we're towed back in, which is good because it shortened the inner tie rod ends. This is looking like it needs that. So with this setup, what's it do on lift? Oh, that was interesting. Now it's towing in up high. So we're towed in. Towed out a half degree. And now we start towing back in. We're at 0 toe. We're at a half degree towed in. We're at a full degree towed in. Well, that's different. The square up caster and camber. We'll leave tow alone for right now. We'll see if our caster and camber being different are causing that. Let me play with caster and camber a little bit and get that better. I like to recomp these on a regular basis because sometimes the heads move or you bump a head and it messes with settings. That way I know I'm dealing with the correct things that I need to be dealing with. The last time I did a rise and drop, my caster increased 2 degrees on the driver's side, so my wheel probably rotated. So I'm going to recomp it and then go through some of this stuff again. Leave room for your tools to get in there to adjust your adjustments. Take the caster and camber to a baseline with no shims in it, and then we'll figure it out what we need from there. This is going to take a minute. So you guys probably can't see this in here. So the camber adjustment bolt, caster adjustment bolt in the back, there's actually an air gap back here because this bar hits the center of the frame. The bolt's tight, but there's no shim here. So I'm actually changing this up. I'm putting a caster shim in and I'm taking the camber shims out. I'm putting some I can't even say it. I'm taking some camber shims out and I'm putting some caster shims in to give me more caster. I have tons of negative camber on this, so I'm trying to get rid of some of that. But that air gap there could have caused an issue down the line because that control arm's not actually held in place. It could have caused a looseness. Probably not because it's locked down, but it could have caused something weird to happen. So we're going to make some changes to that. Take the rest of our camber shims out of the front. I have no camber shims in the front of that one. I have an 1/8 inch shim on the back over there. I'm going to see if I can do the same thing over here. And then we'll do our caster sweep and see where we're at. And for all you guys thinking, well, that doesn't look like a flat rate job. You're right, it's not a flat rate job. There's no way you can price out what it takes to sort stuff out when you're doing things like this, because you never know what you're going to run into. There's no way to say, well, it's going to take this amount of time to fix this, because we don't know what this is. That's just part of the game. So this coilover conversion kit uses the upper control arm bolt holes as the place to use to mount the bracket, which is good unless you're trying to do what I'm trying to do, and I'm trying to get some more angle out of my upper control arm. When the bolts are right against the frame, they can pivot a little bit so that you can move that pivot shaft. And what I'm running into is I want a pivot shaft, but it won't let me. So I'm going to try and get one more 1/8 inch shim in here to increase my caster on this side a little bit more, because I'm going for max caster on this because I want it to be super stable. And we're going to see how he likes that. So I'm going to use an air hammer on this because it's the only thing I got. My little pry bar won't do it, my big pry bar won't do it. So air hammer it is. Oh, losing the shims that are in there now. Oh, just a hair more. I need like 6 hands to do this the easy way. It's not going to let me put that much in there, is it? Not going to do it. I might have one more trick on this. Come on. No, she's in there. Probably regret doing that later. How much caster did you put into it? All of it. Sorry, Billy, I got your brand new fender dirty. Guess that will just add to the patina. Let's re-sweep our caster. Let's see where we're at. I think we're going to be really super close. Caster and camber. Ooh, I'll take the caster. Camber is a wee bit off. I'll have to think about that while I'm going to get my daughter. I gotta go get my kiddo. And then I will get back to this as soon as I'm done with that. So we'll be right back. 9.5 degrees of caster. That's a lot. Well, I'm back. I had to go get some bolts because our bolts, our toe bolts for our bump steer kit are grade 5s, and I wanted to put grade 8s in because I need a longer bolt to achieve what I'm trying to achieve out of the bump steer. I'm really close. I'm only towing out like a 1/2 degree, and then it's towing in like 1 degree to 2 degrees as it rises, and I'm okay with that. I mean, we're splitting hairs here at a 1/2 degree. But I wanted to go a little longer, and I wanted to, because we're at such a long length, I wanted to add the strength of a grade 8 bolt. So I picked up some bolts, a couple different lengths, so that I have what I need, and some nylock nuts. I'm going to try these. I'm going to try one more shim on the top to bring it down just a hair more, and hopefully that'll be the last time I have to shim the bump steer kit. I've got a little bit of a camber adjustment to do yet on the passenger side to match the driver's side. My caster's dead on, and we have a ton of caster in this, so we're going to basically end up having them take this out, make some test runs, give us some feedback. It'll probably end up back on the alignment rack, making some adjustments after that. This is essentially a initial chassis setup, so it's not just like one alignment and it's out the door and it's perfect. It never goes that way. There's always more work to do. There's always things you can improve on. So I'm going to go ahead and install my longer grade 8 hardware They didn't have them this long in the fine thread, so I did coarse thread. It is what it is. It's still, I'd rather still have grade 8s than grade 5s, especially with how long we're getting on this guy. And I do need to run the little spacer on the bottom because it helps with my range of motion for the Heim joint. So, it's dripping on me. Yeah. Have to figure that out. Yeah, that's what pants are for. So, I'm going to go ahead and throw these guys in here, and I'm going to recomp and basically start over again. Because it's been sitting and, you know, it's what you do. Let's get to work. I'm using larger spacers because it distributes the load more, so once it's clamped it'll have a bigger footprint for torsional load. Since we're getting pretty tall, I figured more support would be better, and it's what I have. Dang it, stupid gravity. Of all the things to fight with, really, the coating on the bolt. That's annoying. Of all the dumb things. Fail. Usually how my luck is. Can't put that in there with a moving wrench. That would be bad. So I have my caster within 1/10 of a degree side to side, so now I'm working on my camber. I'm matching my camber up. So when you have your caster where you want it and you want to adjust camber only, you actually adjust, you add or subtract shims to both the front and rear position on the upper control arm. And what you're doing is you're equally moving the arm in and out. You're not changing the caster at all. So I'm going to add a couple shims to this side to take my camber negative on the passenger side to match it up with the driver's side, because I have the driver's side as, I guess, low as I can get it with no shims in the camber position and maximum caster. So now I'm going to match my camber with this side because I can shim this one to match that side. So I'm going to sling some more shims and get my cambers matched up, and then we'll check our toe and check our bump steer and see where we're at. We're moving along, making good progress, and should be able to give this thing back to the guys here later today. There's a turbski in my way. I figured out if I loosen up the front one a ton, it allows me to loosen the rear one real easily. I was fighting with that earlier. But like anything, as you do stuff, you figure out what works and what doesn't work. Making a liar out of me. There you go. Now you dropped in. Grab another shim since I dropped one on the ground. I gotta say, this truck looks amazing with the matched fenders and doors. He said he lightened the car up like 300 pounds with the changes he did. That's pretty impressive. I don't know if we're going to keep all the caster in it. We might take some back out. But I'm interested to see what his feedback is with the extra caster. We'll try it like this and then maybe take 2 degrees out of it and see what he says, if he likes it better with or without. But that's what you do. You try stuff and then you find out what works. So I was getting some readings where one wheel was shifting and towing in and towing out at a different rate than the other side, and I thought to myself, hey, I bet my tie rod ends are different lengths, because when they're different lengths they're gonna have different geometry. So I pulled the boots off the rack, measured it, centered the rack. I'm not going to worry about the steering wheel. We'll worry about the steering wheel later. We can disconnect the steering shaft at the rack and pinion and clock the steering wheel wherever it needs to be. So I'm just going to square up the rack to the vehicle so that my tie rod ends are equal distances side to side, and that should clear up my distortion, if you want to call it, going through lift and rebound. So that's squared away. I'm going to reset my toe, and I'm actually going to recomp again and redo my caster, verify my camber, because I made some adjustments on the upper control arm, and then I should be pretty close. You know, it just takes time. It takes a lot of time. And every car is different. And the next time this thing's in, it won't take near as much time, because, you know, even if I'm just changing caster, it's just a matter of pulling a couple shims out and retightening it. And then that'll change my caster, and I'll move both arms the same amount to achieve the change that I want on both sides to make it equal. So it's not as hard as it sometimes gets made out to be, but it does take time. I mark my rack so I know my center. That way I don't have to worry about it in the future. At least that'll get me close. I can always pop the boots off and measure it when I need to. That's actually good, because this rod end was at its limit, and I get to make this one longer and this one shorter, which should put me in a good spot. Let's see what happens. Right about there. No, other way. Never get it right. Oop, no, I was right. Second guessing myself. A little bit of toe in. Still toe out just at the first part of the lift. Oh, my toe out's really clean now. It's only a 0.2 of a degree toe out, and it's already towing back in. And then it goes positive from there, so. It tows in a couple degrees on rise, but this thing has so much travel, it's not that surprising. But I'm towing in, and that's what's important. So I think I'm going to leave my settings right there. We're going to try it out. I'm going to lock everything down. Everything's pretty much locked down, but I'm going to resweep caster, double check all my readings one more time, and then I think this thing is ready to roll. Camber's dead on. I think I'm real happy with it. What's it do on lift? So when you hit the gas in the first foot, it's going to tow out 0.3 of a degree. Now it's already starting to go positive. We're at 0.2 negative on tow. And now we're at 0 tow. So he's barely even left the line yet, and he's already positive for his tow. And he can run down the track like that. It tows into about 3 degrees, so I'll take it. I think it'll do him just fine. He's got plenty of lift, it'll have plenty of steering, it'll have plenty of traction, and it should shoot straight as a flipping arrow. I'm happy with it. So one thing I want to make people aware of, we have seen with these Heim joint upper control arms, the passenger side rear Heim joint is working the bolt loose. The force of the caster on that Heim joint, if that Heim joint isn't free and well lubricated, it binds and it works as the suspension bounces, it works the bolt loose and then it knocks the bolt out. We had this with the green Firebird, green Firebird. He was hauling it in his trailer and the control arm actually came off and it actually ruined the cross shaft. So make sure you're torquing those to spec. I would highly recommend using a red Loctite on them, or even the green Loctite, which is like sleeve compound. It doesn't come off. You would have to heat that to actually get it to release if you have to pull the bolt. But once your car is aligned correctly, you can lock those bolts in, because the reality is you're never going to be pulling those bolts out again unless you decide to completely change your setup. And even then you can release the Loctite with heat. So something to be aware of if you're using upper control arms with these Heim ends. They're great for adjustability, but we're seeing them work themselves loose even though they shouldn't be. They were tightened, he found it loose, and then it came loose on him again. He's like, I thought it was just something left loose. No, it's actually the car, the weight of the car is working the bolt loose. So be aware of your suspension components. You need to double check that stuff. Make sure stuff's not coming loose. Got to be safe out there, at least as safe as you can be doing this stuff. With that, put this thing up in the air, kind of look it over, see if I can see anything else that needs to be addressed. And I think it's time to call Bill and have him head this way. You can see on full lift I'm 2 degrees towed in, which will be nice and stable, but still not create a whole ton of drag. My camber's within 3/10, my caster's within 2/10. 8 degrees of caster running down the track on full lift should be amazing. It should be really stable. So I'm gonna strip this thing down, double check some lock nuts, and make sure everything's the way I want it to be, and this thing's gonna head out of here. Thanks for watching. Click like, subscribe, leave us a comment below. Tell us what you think about this bad little beast. Pretty nice K-member, adjustable arms. I did address the Heim joints working loose. Make sure you check your upper control arms if you have Heim joints on them. Don't need any upper control arms coming loose while you're running down the track. That would be bad. At any rate, have a great day. Stay safe out there. Thanks for watching.